Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We've got a big victory to talk about, and then also on the flip side of the episode, we've got a big road trip to talk about. Tops obviously had a good win versus Houston Christian, and then we're going to talk about the trip coming up to Columbus, Ohio to face Ohio State. As always, I've got Tyler with me. Tyler, man, you ready to jump in and talk about a big episode?
Oh, man, you know I'm ready to talk about this episode, boy. Another victory. I'm ready to get into this.
Yes, sir. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Topper_Talk. Also, our YouTube channel is at Topper Talk Podcast. As always, feel free to share the links, share our episodes whenever those come out, man. Every episode is growing just very quickly in listeners and viewers, people watching, tuning in, new listeners and watchers every week, people coming back that are obviously loyal and been with us since day one. We appreciate everybody. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. We want people to hear about, know about, and love the Toppers just like we do. So we're going to continue talking about them. Before we jump into the episode, I'm going to talk about our sponsor, as always. That is the Fireman Moving Company. They are the sponsor. They're the official moving company of WKU Athletics. They are local or long-distance movers staffed by current or off-duty firefighters. They have been professionally moving commercial and residential property since 1992. They're founded by proud WKU alumni. Call them for any and all of your moving needs at 270-791-1755 and follow them on Instagram at The Fireman Moving Co. And I've said it once, I've said it 3-4 times now. Every time we've talked about it, man, I personally used them to move when we moved into this house. Best decision we ever made, best money we ever spent. Moving wise, just made our lives a lot easier. We got out of our old house and all the big furniture, everything moved into this new one. They were fast, they were efficient, they were fairly priced. And if we ever move again, guarantee they will be the first call that we make, sponsor or not. They're just that good, that efficient at their job, and just worth every penny that you're going to pay them. So now as we get into the episode, as always, we're going to jump into the Red Towel wrap-up and catch up on all the WKU sports that we've missed since our last recording. So, Tyler, give us that Red Towel wrap-up. What do we miss?
All right, so the women's golf team, they played in the Boilermaker Invitational. The team tied for 8th. Katie Craig, she finished 9th. Sarah Arnold, she tied for 12th. On 9-7, the soccer, they tied with Evansville 0-0. Volleyball, they played Troy in the Holiday Inn Plaza Invitational, and they swept them 3-0. Volleyball then played Arkansas, and sadly they lost 3-2. Volleyball played the COC, and they swept them 3-0. And soccer, they were at Purdue, and they dropped that 2-1. That's been the Red Towel wrap up. Moff, back to you.
Yeah, sorry, my notes at CLC College of Charleston. We swept them at the end of that invitational there. Yeah, and then that 5-set heartbreaker to Arkansas. They were ranked pretty highly. I think they were like 17th coming into that match. We did end up losing in 5 sets. We were up 2-1. They were able to force a 5th set and ultimately took that win. But we battled it, kind of all the way to the end there. So another solid Red Towel wrap up. Again, sports just kicking off, taking off. Both golf teams actually started an invitational today as we're recording here on late Monday night into early Tuesday now. So, we'll catch that up after that tournament is completed. We'll catch it up next week when we're recapping this Ohio State victory or game in general. So now we're going to jump into the main part of our episode, which is the Houston Christian recap. As we played them, and we were able to come away with a convincing 52-22 victory to move to 2-0 on the season. It was a beautiful day, 6 p.m. kickoff. Tailgating was packed, man. It was, I mean, there were people everywhere on South Lawn. It's, the parking lots driving up to the stadium, by the roundabout, by Egypt, along the road, the end of the baseball field there, the RV lot, just literally people everywhere, tents everywhere. Weather was perfect. Parents' weekend. It was one of the better atmospheres I can remember in a long time, and it was overdue because obviously the South Florida game, it was felt like it was 110 degrees outside. It was hot. Still had a pretty good atmosphere outside, but just it was just so deathly hot that it wasn't a fun atmosphere. It was just you were melting. But this atmosphere, it was perfect outside, great weather. The people showed up. And then the people actually came inside to the game. Had a great uh, announced attendance at 20,712 people, which is 87% capacity of our almost 23,000 that our stadium hosts. So really solid numbers, solid atmosphere. Tyler, what's your take on the atmosphere of the pregame festivities? How was everything in your eyes?
Oh, I think it was great. I parked down there at the South Chestnut parking lot, and there was even people set up there playing cornhole, drinking, water, having fun, just having a great time. And then whenever I walked down into the South Lawn, uh, I made the mistake of trying to wiggle my way through the maze that was, just terrible. I ended up backing out of that, going around the edge, and making my way finally to chill with you. But no, I think it was awesome to see that many people down there, having a good time, celebrating, supporting, the football team. It was electric. That's what I felt in the atmosphere. And then whenever you got into the stadium, me and you, we was over on the new side. It felt really good to look across and see the old side, top to bottom, just filling with people, dressed in white, ready to be there, cheer, and support the team. I mean, it to me it was awesome and long overdue.
Yeah, and getting into the game, um, offensively, WKU had a solid game, especially when we consider that we were without four of our top wide receivers that weren't in full time action. Obviously we know Malachi Corley got hurt in the opener and sat this game out to rest. Mike Matheson's been announced; he's kind of week to week, not sure exactly when he's going to be back. Dalvin Smith was in this game for a short time. I think had a couple catches, but then was out the rest of the game. Had a boot on, and then Craig Burt did not play in this game. So I'm hoping, maybe assuming that some of that was just precautionary, just playing it safe to let those boys be healthy and come back this next Saturday when we're going to need all the firepower we can get against a very very daunting Ohio State team. Austin Reed led the way with 253 passing yards on 27 out of 33 passing. He had 4 passing touchdowns and another rushing touchdown. So back to back games there. And also, worth noting and bringing up that we had such a big lead. They end up pulling Austin Reed and putting in the backup quarterback. And I thought it was interesting that QB2 was Turner Helton, which we had previously alluded to, both on Twitter and on here, that there had been some rumblings and some whispers coming out of fall ball going into week one that he was the guy, and he had overtaken Bronson Barron and Caden Veltkamp, and he confirmed that when he was the first one off the bench, came in the game, looked very, very comfortable, looked the part, finished 5 for 5 with 65 yards and 1 touchdown. So big congratulations to Tyson's nephew getting to come in the game, make his collegiate debut, come in and had a really solid game. So, obviously we hope we don't have to turn to him very often in the season, only in some blowouts, but, what he showed, I was really impressed by, and really gives me just a lot of just, I don't know, just proud that what we saw in our spring game, when we talked about the quarterbacks, they all look good, they all look solid, that translated over to actual a game and his actual performance. He looked just really solid. Now, getting back to Austin Reed, this was the second game in a row he completed passes to 10 different wide receivers. So, again, we just talked about being without basically four of our wide receivers. Dalvin Smith was in for a little bit, had a couple catches in this game, but for the most part, didn't play most of this game. We talked about the other guys being out, and he still completed passes to 10 different wide receivers. So, again, that's just a testament to this wide receiver depth, this room that we have that is just insanely deep. Being without that many guys who are number one, two, and three guys mainly, and still completing passes to that many guys. I mean, there's playmakers all up and down this roster, and we've been talking about that since the spring game. Our wide receiver position breakdown, and now they're getting a chance to show it. Unfortunately, due to some injuries, but they're getting game experience now, and eventually those guys are going to come back healthy, and all that's going to do is make this team deeper and tougher to defend when we're spreading 4 and 5 wide. Now, Easton Messer was our leading wide receiver. He had 9 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Again, awesome to see him getting an opportunity. He made the most of it. Malachi Corley was really giving him high praise during spring ball, and now he's proven that it was all warranted. Jimmy Holiday also had a big game with 4 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Our boy Blue Smith had 3 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown. And then River Helms also caught a birthday touchdown, and he finished with 2 catches, 17 yards, and that 1 touchdown. And then Denzel Aliyeen also had 1 catch for 8 yards and 1 touchdown. So Tyler, what's your thought on this? The wide receivers, the passing game, just how we looked throwing the ball around the yard against Houston Christian. What do you think about those guys?
Oh, I think, well, I'm going to start this off by saying I didn't think we'd be listing 4 of our top receivers as injured within the first 2 games, but the dudes who stepped up and filled them roles are doing an amazing job. On top of the names you already talked about, I'm going to talk about Musa Berry again for the second week in a row. He had 2 catches for 18 yards. Zevion Capers, he had 3 catches for 18 yards. Dalvin Smith, he hauled in 2 for 10 yards before he left with that injury, like you said. KD Hutchinson had 3 receptions for 4 yards, and Davion Irvin Poindexter hauled in 3 for 27 yards. I think the receiving core is in good hands. Even the people who are filling in are showing that, hey, this is my time. I'm stepping up here. I'm going to make them big catches when the game depends on it, and get some of that yak as well. No, I'm happy with our receiving game that was in this game.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see so many new faces, especially. I mean, you said Xavier Capers. We talked about Jimmy Holiday, Blue Smith, River Helms, Easton Messer, Musa Berry. I mean, just so many new names that, coming into the season were relatively unknown. Guys that hadn't produced, hadn't been here. Malachi goes down, Dalvin goes down, Mike Matheson goes down, and we're still stepping up, just having guys with huge games, good production. I don't want to say no drop off. Obviously, we missed those guys not being in the game, but our offense still clicking. I mean, Austin Reed had a good game, threw for 4 touchdowns. It's really hard to complain with what our offense is doing, given the adversity that they've already gone through so far now in 2 games. Looking at our rushing offense, they continued what is now a trend with our second game in a row of going over 100 yards rushing. They were led by Marquise Stepp, who had 9 carries for 48 yards with a 5.3 yard per carry average. Then Davion Irvin Poindexter also had 5 carries for 33 yards with a 6.6 yard per carry average. And Austin, I'm going to call him Wheels, dare I, Reed, Austin Wheels Reed had another rushing touchdown, just showing that versatility. He talked in the offseason about, trimming his body down a little bit, getting in better condition. So, I wouldn't call him a mobile quarterback per se, but he's more than willing to take off and run. And we've seen that now 2 games in a row, where, if the defense is playing good coverage, he'll, turn your back on him. He'll take off and run and hit that pylon. So really like what I'm seeing there. What about you, Tyler, from the running back? What do you like from those guys?
Oh, I like the aggressive style that they got. Marquise Stepp, he's already shown that he's going to shoot it right up the gut, and he won't stop until he's pulled down. Davion Irvin Poindexter, of course, he uses his speed to get around the edge, and he has proven that he can step out and leak out and catch some passes either in the flat or maybe short comebacks. I think our running back game is pretty good right now. It's always good whenever we get a game where we top 100 yards, and to have 2 games in a row versus USF and Houston Christian. I'm thrilled by that. I really am. I think whenever we was doing our early season, uh, position breakdowns, I said we need to have over 1,000 yard rusher. I'm still pulling for that right there. I think we're going to do it. And I don't know if it's going to be Irvin Poindexter or Marquis Step. Also, Elijah Young hit 4 carries for 7 yards. Um, and, and like I said, I am happy that our running backs are being so aggressive and hitting the holes and getting there even yards after contact. I'm just happy with the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, and I know we were both surprised to not see LT Sanders. I'm not sure what was going on there, but usually he's a different kind of change of pace back. He's that scat back that can, just break a big run at any time with a small crease. So not sure why we didn't see him. Haven't looked or heard, anything about why that may have been. Then looking at the kicking game real quick, Tom Ellard had 3 punts for 117 yards. He had a 39-yard average. There was an interesting one, later in the game. He had rolled out, far to the sideline, our sideline, and it looked like he was considering a fake. I'm not sure if that was just sniffing it out, just seeing what the defense was giving him, and then he decided to boot that thing down the field. But it was interesting, kind of made, I'm sure if Ohio State's watching the film, I'm sure they're going to take a glance at it. Just plant that seed in their mind that he might roll out and look at running if you turn your back and you're looking to cover the guy receiving the punt. And then Mr. Automatic, Lucas Canario, continued his perfect season. The streak, my bold prediction stays intact. He was 1-on-1 on field goals and 7 out of 7 on extra points. So keep that up. It's just a bold take. 2 games in. Keep it going, buddy. Defensively, WKU held Houston Christian to 22 points, which is it's higher than we predicted, but still, that output is going to win a lot of games in Conference USA and just in general. Um, WKU was led by Kendrick Simpkins, who had 6 tackles. 5 of those were solo, 1 sack, and 2 tackles for loss. And I believe he forced a fumble, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't write that down, but I'm pretty sure he forced a fumble. Then we've all seen the clip now. Upton Stout had that 51-yard pick six they took to the house. Just caught a beautiful ball right there on the sideline. Made sure to check his foot that he wasn't going out of bounds. Took it across the field into the end zone. So, overall, I was really impressed by the defense. I think this was a good game to kind of get their bearings straight and clean up some things from game one where tackling was definitely an issue, and allowing some big runs to USF. So I think this was a good game to get prepared for the tough task that's going to be coming up against Ohio State. So Tyler, tell me about this defense. What did you see? What did you like?
Well, I'm going to add something that you missed here, and that was Talik Allen punching that ball at like the 1 yard line through the back of the end zone, causing a touchback. That was awesome. No, this game by the defense. I mean, shoot, they played their ass off. That pick six, it was awesome watching him go sideline like that. Um, and I think we only was it only 1 sack we had. Was that Kendrick Simpkins? Yeah. I would like seen a few more. Donut Evans, but hey, it didn't happen this game. We'll catch it up next time. I think the defense played pretty much locked down, except for letting up 22 points. But I mean, crap like that happens. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed seeing some of them highlight reels from the defense this game. I feel like we may have not have gotten as much. Well, no, we did because we forced 3 turnovers this game. Our defense played lights out, man. In my book.
Yeah, I want to jump into some key indicators. We'll touch on that as well. And that so, first one, total yards. WKU outgained Houston Christian 433 yards to 368. So a win in total yards. We held HCU to 7 out of 12 on third down, and they were 0 out of 1 on fourth down. Whereas WKU was 5 out of 10 on third down and 1 out of 1 on fourth down. So again, kept them. They didn't continue as many drives, obviously, to score more points, and we were pretty good, and obviously had that 1 fourth down conversion. Houston Christian had 3 turnovers, 2 of those fumbles. You mentioned the punch out, which was nice. Then the Upton Stout interception that we also had. and WKU had 0. So again, the second game in a row where we've had 3 turnovers in our favor, and we've had none ourselves. So that is a streak and a trend that we're definitely going to need to continue as we roll into this next game if we want to have a fighter's chance of pulling off the upset. And then the time of possession was basically a wash. WKU had the ball for 30 minutes and 16 seconds. Houston Christian had the ball for 29 minutes and 47 seconds. So, Tyler, give me your thoughts on your stats before we jump into some grades on this team.
Oh man, it's always good when you outscore, when you out get more offensive yardage than they do. We did it by what, 70 yards. I'll take it. Our defense held strong. 7-12 on third. We made them punt. On the fourth 0-1. No, I think these stats are pretty good, especially that turnover ratio. Now, throughout the year, 6 for 0. For them, for us. I'm happy as you can be with this stats.
All right, so now we're going to jump into some grades on this convincing victory. First, for the offense, what do you got to grade for those guys?
Other than a few possessions, they did spread the ball out to a lot of different receivers, and they got points. So I'm gonna give them an A, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an A as well. I mean, there's empty possessions out there. We had plenty of them versus USF. We had a few versus HCU. Um, sometimes we just get spoiled to be in such a good offense that we're expecting 60, 70 points every game. 52 is pretty good. Obviously we would have liked to hung a few more, but 52 is good. So I'm going to give them an A. What about the defense? What do you give those guys for a grade?
The defense, we got 3 more turnovers, like we had mentioned earlier, and we only gave up 22 points. So I'm gonna go with them an A as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an A. Winning the turnover battle is going to win you a lot of games. Holding somebody to 22 points is going to win you a lot of games. So it's hard to be mad at what the defense did. Obviously, going forward as the schedule gets tougher, we might need a little bit more disruptive and continue that, forcing turnovers trend that we have going. But I definitely give those guys an A. What about our special teams? What do you give those guys?
Well, another day, another automatic showing from uh, the kicker and Tom Elliott, the punter. So I'm gonna go with shocking A.
Say I'm doing the same. I think it's hard to argue. Um, you know, talked to Tom a slight bit after the game. He was disappointed in his punting efforts. I was joking with him about that potential fake. He said, "Yeah, I might have looked, but I decided it was in my best interest to kick that ball." But so I thought that was interesting. But he said he's going to be sending some bombs down in Columbus. He's going to step his game up, and then obviously being perfect on field goals and extra points. You got to give those guys an A. Pretty clean there on special teams. What about your grade for the coaching?
Well, they did have a good game plan, other than a few stagnant, I guess, drives, maybe in the middle of the game, where they threw out to the flats and all that. Uh, Other than that, they had a really good game. I'm gonna go with an A again on them.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the coaches an A as well. I mean, we didn't need to be overly fancy or overly think this game to pull out a victory. We probably got to pull out some things and some a little bit more depth of our roster, than usually would see the field in such a big victory. So I'm giving those guys an A. We need to just come out of this game healthy and rest some guys and get ready for the next one. Then what about your grade for the fans?
Oh, the fans! It was great that they showed up. It was like I said earlier, it was electric. Being in the tailgate and in the stadium, it was awesome being around all those people. 87% capacity for a Southland conference team. For really, a small school, it was awesome. It's about time they came out and supported a team like this. I hope they do it again. I'm gonna give it an A. A for the fans.
Yeah, that's a clean sweep. I mean, the fans definitely got an A plus. I mean, tailgating was amazing. Uh, it seemed like most everybody came into the game. You mentioned the stands. The new side was full. The old side, across the way was full, top to bottom, left to right, corner to corner. I mean, pretty close to a sellout. Really appreciate that show out, and we need that continue to go forward. We've got a couple road games coming up, and then we're coming back for a midweek with Middle Tennessee, and we need that same atmosphere, that same support as we start to get into the meat of the schedule, and especially into conference play. We need to keep that advantage. So definitely an A+ for the fans on this game. It was a solid showing, and one that you can't complain about. It needs to happen more often. Um, Tyler, give me your final thoughts on HCU, and then on the other side, we'll jump into the Ohio State preview.
Excuse me. Well, they kind of surprised me with the way they played, and I thought it may have been a little easier. Granted, I did think we would win 70 to I think 13. So I was a few points off. I hope nobody holds that against me. But no, I think it was a good game. It was a good, like you said, chance for us to clean up our maybe some defensive some defensive play, the offensive play a little bit. It was awesome seeing Messer really just take control of that. It's got a little Cooper Cup in him, I believe. And I guess the one thing that surprised me was the onside kicks there early in the game. I wasn't expecting it. Corey Munson did a great job on that. Another A for the special teams. I'm hoping we can do that later this week again. But no, I was overall pleased and happy with the way the team played versus Houston Christian, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I think it was a good game. It was a good tune-up game. Just need to clean some things up following the USF game. Hopefully stay and get some people healthy that need to be ready, and hopefully can play this coming Saturday as we jump into Ohio State week officially now and close the book on Houston Christian. So on the other side of this, we're going to preview Ohio State. All right, now we're going to talk Ohio State, preview that game coming up. Now both teams enter this game at 2-0. This game is on Saturday, 9/16 at 3 p.m. on Fox at the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State is coming off a victory over Youngstown State and is favored now by 28 points over WKU. Now that line opened at 26 in their favor and now has moved to 28. So the betting line, for whatever reason, the bettors are putting a lot of bets on Ohio State, and it's moved in their favor. And the over/under has also moved. I believe it was around 60 when it opened, and now it's at 64. So the bettors are really, piling on the spread and the over/under, which is a little surprising. But we'll see what happens. The ESPN Power Index really likes Ohio State to win this game. They give them a 97.1% chance versus only 2.9% chance for WKU to win. So, obviously it's a tall task in front of us. And Tyler, we've talked about this game for a long time, since the spring game, the season preview. This is the big one. This is the one that fans have had circled since it was scheduled. This is one that players are ready to jump into. So obviously we've got a big chance and tall task to go into Columbus, and potentially shock the college football world and really put our names on the map as far as being a legit contender, possible G5 playoff team. So how does this matchup look on paper for you?
Yeah, I think well, their wide receiver. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. They got I'm gonna try not to butcher his name, Amika Egabuka. They're both their returning wide receivers. We got Malachi Corley. Granted, I don't think. Hopefully, we'll have Matheson back. I don't know if we will, but we have a couple of high-powered wide receivers. Their quarterback's kind of untested. Kyle McCord. I think he's kind of iffy versus Indiana game. He didn't have that many passing yards. They kind of relied on the running game. We're definitely going to need our run. I think we're going to need our run defense to really step up. Ohio State, they're averaging 431 total yards per game, and they're only allowing 193 and a half per game. I think we can. I think our offense is definitely going to it's going to be more than 193 and a half, but Um, I think this will be a real big, like you said, a real big test for us. I ain't scared of them. And I don't think our players are neither, because I think our players are ripping and roaring and rooting and tooting to get in there to the horseshoe and straighten it out a little bit this upcoming weekend. Um, I think it's going to be a good game. I hope the refs ain't a little home biased, because I just don't like Ohio State. I never have. It goes back to whenever I was younger. I just don't like them. Uh, I think it will be a good game. I'm going to leave it there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch on a few guys that they're led by. You touched on their quarterback, Kyle McCord. He's a 6'3", 215-pound junior. On the season, just 2 games, he's 34 out of 53 for 497 yards with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. Their leading running back is Travion Henderson. He's a 5'10", 212-pound junior. He has 17 carries for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then also, they're led by wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., who's a 6'4", 205-pound junior. He has 9 receptions for 178 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. They have a really solid team, a really solid squad. That wide receiver core that you talked about, really good. They got a really solid tight end as well that we'll talk about here shortly. Um, I did recruit someone to help talk about Ohio State to kind of shine some light on their team. I got Eric from the OHIO pod to join us, and he talked a little bit about Ohio State's team, and even gave some of the Hilltoppers that are making that trip up to Columbus, Ohio, gave some recommendations to check out, Friday night, Saturday before the game, and even Saturday after the game. If you're staying all weekend, we've got some advice and some recommendations from a local there to check out for the game and enjoy the atmosphere. So let's tune into that and hear what he had to say. All right, and I'm here with Eric from the OHIO podcast, man. Eric, I appreciate you jumping on here and joining us, talk some Ohio State football, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I appreciate it. This is great, man. Thanks for coming on mine earlier. Nice little collaboration with a Hilltopper. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. I am as well. I'm looking forward to it. This is a big game coming up on our schedule. Obviously, it's the biggest matchup of our season, just in terms of the quality of the opponent. I mean, you're ranked number 6 in the nation right now. It's going to be a tough game, and obviously, Ohio State's a year in, year out, national championship. They're in that conversation. Year in, year out, they recruit at a high level. They play at a high level. They win a lot of games. They send a lot of players to the NFL. I mean, they're undoubtedly a very successful program. And it's going to be a tough game for anybody coming in. Road games are tough to win. But we're coming in. We know we're the underdog. It's going to be a fun match. But with all the, the hype and everything around Ohio State and just the yearly standard that is Ohio State football, obviously you are breaking in a new quarterback this year. What would you say are the preseason expectations that the team and the fans had for this team coming into the season?
Well, it depends on which group of fans you talk to. I mean, there is the fan part of the fan base that it is national championship or bust every single year, regardless of who the coach is, who the players are, regardless of breaking in 3 new offensive linemen and a quarterback like we had this year. It is, if you don't win a national championship, it's a failure. Then there's a portion of the fan base that has, I would say, reasonable expectations. The standard at Ohio State will always remain the same. That is, number one, you have to beat that dreaded team from up north. We don't even like mentioning their name. And so we'll just, for those who don't know who our rival is, they wear maize and blue and have the ugliest helmets in college football. That's number one. You have to beat that team, which we have failed to do the last 2 years. If you beat them, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to win the conference. It's either them or us, it seems like. For the majority of years in the Big Ten, that is how it's been. Now, every once in a while, someone will jump in. Sparty, Michigan State, Penn State had one a few years ago. But for the most part, it's either them or us. So if you beat them, you win your conference, and then you go to the college football playoff. That's the standard. And a failure to do those things is a failure on the season. With breaking in a new quarterback, the expectation was still you need to beat that team. If you beat that team, then you're going to win the conference, and then you're going to go to the college football playoff. That's the expectation. After 2 games, there is a lot of anxiety in Buckeye Nation. A lot. For the longest time, we didn't even know who our quarterback was. It seems like we do now. Kyle McCord's going to be QB1 as we record this on a Monday night. I'm pretty sure tomorrow Ryan Day announces that that's the quarterback moving forward. So at least we have that answered now. Now, is he CJ Stroud or Justin Fields or even Dwayne Haskins? No, he's not. He's more Joe Germain for those who might remember Ohio State back in the 90s, which isn't bad. He can manage a football game. And when you have targets around you like he does at wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Cade Stover, Julian Fleming, the list goes on, then you just have to drive the sports car and not wreck it, right? I mean, that's where we're at on the offensive side of things. And we've improved defensively. So can we make enough improvements on the offensive side to beat Notre Dame on the road, to beat Wisconsin on the road, to beat that team up north on the road, and beat Penn State in a home game? That remains to be seen. Right now, my preseason prediction was 11-1, a Big Ten title, and get to the CFP. I think that's in jeopardy, to be honest with you.
That's fair. I'm going to go off script a little bit just because
Sure.
you named the team that should not be named up there that you'll have to beat every year, because there's an interesting link between us and them. Okay. He who should not be named that coaches that team, his father was the head coach at Western Kentucky University back in the late 90s and early 2000s. We won a Division I AA national championship under Jack Harbaugh. The new side of our stadium where the club level seating is called the Jack Harbaugh Club Stadium seating. And at one point, Jim Harbaugh was an assistant coach here. So there is some ties to that. I find that interesting when you can find little, loopholes, that kind of connect programs a little bit. You don't like it maybe, but
no, I immediately hate you guys now.
I mean, yeah, you want to win all the same. I just think it's interesting because the Harbaughs are very well known around here, and you'll have a good history. The father, Jack, really kind of saved WKU football and kind of kept us afloat as a program, led us to a 1AA championship. And really that was when I was becoming a Western Kentucky fan, when I was getting into college, and really had me entrenched in the programs, in the sport, in the school. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of respect for them. I know obviously a little bit different from your point of view, your angle, but I just think it's an interesting connection that we have there, a mutual person that we know and are very aware of. So, I know I'm asking this selfishly, and we've talked a little bit earlier before we were recording and on your podcast. I expect that Western Kentucky will bring a pretty good contingent of fans. Sure. Anytime we have a notable P5 game, it's relatively close traveling. I think it's like 4.5 hours from where I live here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Plan on making the trip up Friday. As soon as I get off work, I'll be there Friday evening. Planning on getting out in the city and just seeing what there is to see. Hopefully keep myself out of trouble, make it to the game Saturday, stay in Saturday night, and coming back Sunday. So, obviously as a local Buckeye, mm-hmm. Someone that's been there and in that stadium, in that environment, what places would you recommend, not only to me, but to our listeners, people who sure. are undoubtedly going to be making that trip?
Yeah.
Where do we need to go?
Yeah. So let's break this down in different areas. Okay. So let's talk Friday night. All right. If you're going to come in Friday night, you're going to want to go out to eat, right? I'm a big dude. I love restaurants. There are a couple that you guys need to write down. All right. Number one, I think, is Thurman's Cafe. It is very popular. It's in German Village. Yep. There you go. If you've ever seen the show Man vs. Food, it was highlighted on that show. They have a burger there called the Therminator. If you can eat the whole thing, it's free. Very few people have done it. It is massive. It is a small little hole in the wall place in German Village, which is just south of Columbus. But that's one of the places that you would want to visit and eat. Another one would be Urban's Pint House in Dublin, which is just northwest of campus. And that's famous for the former coach Urban Meyer. There's actually a room inside Urban's Pint House, which is called the 7-0 room, which is highlighting his record against that team up north, being 7-0. It is probably a little bit more on the side of where Thurman's acts more of like a dive bar type of feel. Urban's is a little bit more classy. And they both have great food, by the way. So yeah, Urban's Pint House is going to have more alcoholic options for people who are looking for that. For your family people, may I suggest, if you're coming in on Friday or you're staying for the weekend, the Columbus Zoo. It is world famous. Right underneath, I think, the San Diego Zoo as far as ranking in the United States. I literally just live down the road from the zoo. It is a really, really, really nice zoo. I've been to a lot of zoos. For some reason, when I had a lot of kids, we were traveling around the zoos, and so I've been to the Cincinnati Zoo, Akron, Toledo, around Ohio, and some of the other zoos out of state. But Columbus Zoo is fantastic. So if you've got little ones and you're coming to the game and you're staying for the weekend, that would be a place to go. A great place to just hang out is what's called the Short North in Columbus. It's real close to campus. There's all kinds of bars and restaurants and stuff that's just iconic to Columbus. That would be a great place to just go and hang out and get in trouble in. Okay. And if you come on Friday night, that place is going to be, let's call it lively. It's going to be a lively place. And Saturday night, if it's a Buckeye wind. As far as coming to the game, here are some things I highly recommend you go experience. There, if I think the game's what, 4:00 kickoff? I think it's 3:30.
2:30. Well, 2:30 our time, so 3:30 your time. Yeah.
Okay, 3:30. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to be on campus at least by 11:30 noon, to be honest with you. And the tailgating is going to be going on all over campus.
That was my next question. I was going to squeeze that one in. Tailgating, I want to know.
Yeah. So I think the best tailgates are north of the Horseshoe, closer to the basketball arena. That's where you're going to see all of like your RVs and your buses, converted buses, and people flying flags, your traditional game day look of SEC type of tailgate look. You're going to find those north of the stadium, northwest, closer to the basketball stadium. Short walk from there. There's also just north of the Horseshoe is where you're going to see kind of like your radio road. So your local sports programming, your ESPN or Big Ten Network or whoever's going to be there covering the game. They will be there in that area. They've got games for kids in that area. There's you're going to see food trucks there, and it's right between just north of the stadium and St. John Arena, which is the old basketball stadium. And so that is a great place to hang out before the game and get kind of that preparatory feel of the fans and kind of where to meet. 2 hours before the game, I always say 2.5. You're going to want to go into St. John's Arena. So the old basketball arena, just north of the stadium. This is where they have a thing called Skull Session, which is a giant pep rally for the entire state. St. John's Arena holds, I want to say, about 20 or maybe probably not that much, closer to probably 12,000 people.
Wow. Yeah.
And we pack it out for a pep rally.
Wow.
Before the game.
Amazing.
The band comes in. And usually they'll have, if Western Kentucky has a band and they're coming, sometimes they'll invite them in to come. If not, there'll be local high school bands that'll come in and just kind of pep you up and everything. And then 2 hours before the game starts, the football team will walk from their hotel, which is right by the stadium, to St. John Arena, where the coach will speak. He'll have a player speak and one other coach speak to the entire fan base. And it's loud, it's energizing. You're going to want to experience that. A lot of we invite everybody to that. I remember when we played Oklahoma, their fan base had about half of it filled. And so we couldn't even, they had to shut the doors. It was full. And it was really cool, the back and forth that was going before the game. So you're definitely going to want to go to that and experience that. Usually before the game starts, but last week they did it at halftime for some reason. But this week it'll be before the game. You're going to want to be in your seat 30 minutes before kickoff, because when the band enters the stadium, it is iconic. They're known as Tabiddle, the best damn band in the land, is what they're called. And it's literally like watching the military enter a place. I mean, it is. They're marching their lines. It's incredible. And then they always do what's called Script Ohio, which is one of the most iconic traditions in all of college football, where one of the sousaphone players will dot the I after they script it out in their march. And you're going to want to experience that so you can say, hey, I saw one of the greatest traditions in college football. So those are the things that I would highlight to any fan who's coming to their first Ohio State game. Even if you're cheering for the opponent, you're going to want to be a part of that, because it's pretty neat. And if you have the time, maybe after the game, take a stroll through what's called Buckeye Grove. It's just south of the camp of the horseshoe, the stadium, and it is literally a grove of Buckeye trees that are planted for every All-American that's ever played at Ohio State. If you're an All-American, you get a Buckeye tree, and you get a plate at the foot of the base of the trunk of the tree. And so you'll see names like Howard Hopalong Cassidy, Archie Griffin, James Laurinaitis, AJ Hawk, Chris Spielman, and they have their own tree that's been growing for however long they've been an All-American. It's just kind of a really cool place to go check out. So make sure you do that as well. But that's all I've got.
Man, that's a really cool tradition, and I know I hope that anyone listening and that is making the trip, I hope they were making notes. I was making notes. I'll probably go back and listen to get reminded of some of the things I didn't jot down, but I'm going to try to check out most, if not all of those, especially that the pregame pep rally. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And then that, the Buckeye tree, that sounds like just an incredible tradition. And something tells me they're going to be adding a couple more trees this year, because I know, we got a really solid roster across the field from us with a whole lot of talent on the team. So I do appreciate you sharing all that with us. I know our listeners are going to appreciate that and are going to use that knowledge and go check those places out, man. And I love to embrace kind of going to that visitor atmosphere. I know a lot of times on social media it can be contentious and people are, oh, we're going to beat you, you're going to lose, whatever. But I don't think I've ever been to a road environment and not been in a welcome, like, hey, this is going to be fun. Thanks for being here. So it's really cool to hear that there's all these places that we need to check out, these pregame traditions, these after the game, just stuff we need to see and do. And I just can't wait to soak it all in. And I really appreciate you giving us those heads up and suggestions where to go. Now, I'm going to dive a little bit into the team here. We have looked at the stats and kind of know who's who and what to expect. And I didn't make this note when I gave you my notes of what we're going to talk about, but I do want to get at least three guys. I'm going to say three. If you want to go more than three, but we all know Marvin Harrison Jr. If you want to talk about him, you can, you should. Great player. I saw his stats last game. I've seen his stats for the season. I've seen his All-American list. Obviously a great player and one that is going to be a force on the field. But who would you highlight of at least three offensive players for Ohio State that WKU needs to be aware of and needs to have their eyes on that are going to make an impact in this game?
Sure. With Harrison, we gotta mention Emeka Egbuka, number 2, the other wide receiver with them. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, actually ranked higher than Marvin Harrison Jr. was. Which is crazy to think
Impressive.
about.
Yeah, that's nice.
But let me give you our 3-headed running backs. Travion Henderson, Chip Trayanum, Mayan Williams. Henderson was the 5-star out of Virginia. We snagged a couple years ago. Had a bad year last year, dealing with injuries. Mayan Williams was a 3-star out of Cincinnati. You guys might have remembered him in recruiting. He was committed to Iowa State. We lost out on some guys. He decommitted, decided to come to Ohio State. He's a little bowling ball. His nickname's Chop. They call him like Chop, short for pork chop. He is tough to bring down. And then Chip Trayanum is a walking specimen. He was a transfer from Arizona State, originally from Northeast Ohio. We recruited him as a linebacker. He said, I want to play running back. Went to Arizona State, played running back for one season. Had some issues with the coaching staff, entered the portal, came back home.
The boomerang.
We put him in at linebacker, and then last year we had all this trouble with injuries in the running back. We had to put him in the running back. He's playing fullback / running back for us right now. He's built like a Greek god. I mean, he's got an 8-pack and that just goes on and on and on. I've never seen anything like it. He is one you need to be cognizant of. Didn't have a huge game last week. It was more Henderson last week. But when we played Indiana in the opener, he absolutely was just trucking people. So those 3 running backs, when we talked about, your defense and, the trouble they had in the opener in the running department, stopping the run, I would be cognizant of them. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention his nickname's Farmer Gronk. It's Cade Stover, our tight end. Could have went to the NFL last year. Came back. He is the heart and soul of that offense. Tough as nails, good blocker. He's a threat in the passing game as well. So even if you guys blanket Harrison and you blanket Egbuka, there's a tight end who can do some damage too. Last week he took out 2 guys when the touchdown Egbuka had. He blocked 2 guys and sprung that play. So he's a handful on offense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I look at our team stats through 2 games, and I look at our rushing defense, and I look across the field, and I watched some of you all's game with Youngstown State, and saw some of those guys in live action. So that is a concern, and it's nice to know that it's a 3-headed monster, and the tight end as well, very noted, big weapon on you all's team. Unrelated, off script, just a little bit. We do have a player that came from Ohio State. And
okay.
I'm not sure if you're aware, maybe you'll remember a name when I say it, but he recruited, signed to Ohio State, a wide receiver. He transferred to Cincinnati and has since come to us. Do you remember LaChristian Smith, Blue Smith? He's a 6'4" wide receiver. Do you remember Blue?
Yeah, Dayton area, if I recall correctly.
I think you're right.
I think he played his high school ball in Dayton.
Yes,
I do remember him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He, I know, again, I don't know why he transferred. I've never talked to him personally one-on-one, but when I look at his career stats, it just looks like underutilized. And I mean, Ohio State has probably the best wide receiver room in the country. I don't think that's a stretch to say by any imagination. I don't know what happened at Cincinnati, but I'm glad he's on our team. It's a 6'4" wide receiver, and we've been maximizing him the last couple weeks.
If I was a betting man, I would say Luke Fickell leaving probably changed that a lot for him.
I would say, yeah, you're probably definitely right. I just think another just neat association with the 2 teams. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be an advantage for us in any way or shape or form. It's just an interesting link there. But moving over to the other side of the ball, I know this side of the ball is tough. When I look at what you all have done through 2 games, just the amount of yards that you've allowed or not allowed, however you want to look at that. This defense has been staunch, has been tough, and really, for our offense, we want to throw the ball around. We want to have a lot of yards, score a lot of points. Obviously, that's what every team wants to do, whether it's through the ground game or through the air. But this defense that Ohio State has is just tough. They look in from the outside looking in, they look to be kind of the heart and soul of the team. They look like they're ahead and kind of leading the charge. Defense wins games, offense sells tickets. I'm not watching every game, but just looking at the stats from an aerial view, the defense looks legit and very, very legit, and just tough. It's going to be a battle. It's not going to be anything easy. Nothing's going to be given to us. So, again, same question with the defensive guys. Who are 3 players, more if you want, but who are 3 players that we need to be aware of that are going to be looking to stop our offense and what we're trying to get going on that side of the field.
We are excited about defense this year. This is the second year under new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, who came from Oklahoma State to us. We have not had a good defense since 2019. That was the Jeff Okuda, Chase Young defense in 2019 that beat Clemson and got the monkey off our back there. This defense is on par with that. But there is right now a glaring concern, which I will get to in a second. But we're led by our linebackers, Tommy Eichenberg and Steele Chambers. They are both 3-year starters now. Again, two guys who could have went to the NFL last year, probably would have been 3rd round, 4th round, maybe 5th round for Steele. Decided to come back for their redshirt senior years, so they're 5th-year seniors. They are the heart and soul of this team. They don't make mistakes. They just don't. They're tackling machines. They play sound. They fill gaps. They're smart. They're always around the football. That is the heart and soul of this football team. We've made great strides in the secondary, which has been a big weakness of ours for a long time. Junior Denzel Burke is playing phenomenal. In fact, he's only given up 1 pass in 2 games, had an interception last week. Teams aren't even throwing his way. We're hoping you guys try to throw his way. He is by far our best player in the secondary, along with sophomore, should be true freshman because he reclassified after his junior year of high school, in Sonny Styles, who is the youngest son of Lorenzo Styles, who played in the NFL, former Buckeye. Sonny Styles is a unique player. He plays kind of that linebacker / hybrid safety position. He comes down, crashes down on the run, will put a hurting on you. A good size. He's about 6'2". Can run for days, covers the sideline to sideline really well for a safety. They'll move him around, blitz him at times. He's kind of the one you want to keep your eye on. He's number 6. Where's he at before snap? That's what your quarterback's going to have to do. Where's number 6? He's going to have his eyes on him. And then the strength of this defense was supposed to be our defensive line. We got 2 5-star defensive ends in their junior year, and JT, and this name's tough to pronounce, Tuamuluau, who was a 5-star from the state of Washington, and then Jack Sawyer, a local 5-star from Central Ohio and Pickerington Central High School. Neither one of them have gotten home yet in the first 2 games. They don't seem to be doing what we thought they would do, but we are getting a really good push up the middle from our defensive tackles. Tyleek Williams wears number 91, and then Michael Hall Jr., who wears number 51. He's healthy this year. Last year, I think he played like only 200 and some snaps and led the team in sacks from the defensive tackle position. He is a game wrecker. Absolutely. Your guards and center, 2 of them will have to double team him. He absolutely will destroy your offense from up the middle if you don't concentrate on him. But here's the problem with that. He's the only one who's produced anything at this point on that defensive line. And this was supposed to be a defensive line that was going to change everything for us, get us to a national championship. And right now, they're just not getting home. And so that's been our biggest concern. And if you guys are going to do a lot of shotgun, quick read, pass, get the ball out of your hand type of stuff, which I assume you will because that's what everybody does to us, then you're going to make that advantage we have on the defensive line null and void. And you put the pressure on the linebackers to cover as well as the safeties to come up and do their job as well. If there's been one weakness on this defense, it has been the fact we've given up explosive plays in the passing game in the past. We'll get in one-on-one coverage, deep ball, boom, there it is, touchdown. So we've been trying to clean that up a little bit. And so far this year, we've done a better job of that.
It's interesting you talk about the defensive line and that ability to get home and the fact that they haven't done it yet when you've expected to. I saw a stat earlier today, which I think there's only 7 teams in college football that have now not allowed their quarterback to get sacked this year. And we are one of those 7.
Ooh.
So again, part of that is a product of, we're a quick snap, high tempo team. It's snapped, we get out of our hands quick. There's not a lot of 5-step drop, plays developing, big shots down the field. Usually it's going to be across the middle, open it up, let something happen after the pass and after the catch. But I do find that interesting because I think most of these type of games are won in the trenches. If we can keep our quarterback clean, we can give ourselves a chance to be in the game. And if we can pressure your quarterback, maybe we can cause some mistakes that tip the scales to our favor for an upset.
If I was defensive coordinator, I would play a 3-3-5 against you guys. Is what I would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ohio State absolutely refuses to not play 4 down linemen.
Right.
They absolutely refuse. It's our defense. That's the excuse they use all the time. And it's becoming very glaring that is when we play teams that run the football, they got no chance against us.
Right.
We'll dominate them.
Yeah.
But when we play up-tempo passing attacks, that has been our weak, especially with a quarterback who can run, mind you. That has been our weakness, and that's something that I definitely will have my eyes on.
Yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks that run, not that Austin Reed is the mobile wheel's going to take off and kill you on the ground. He had 48 total touchdowns last year. He had 41 passing, 7 rushing. Through 2 games this year, he has 2 rushing touchdowns. He credits some of that to he's trimmed his body down. He's gotten a little better shape. He's looking to throw. He's a gunslinger. He kind of has that Brett Favre mentality. He wants to throw the ball down the field, put it in somebody's hands, let him make play. But he will pull the windows down, so to speak, and take off and run. If linebackers are turning around and following receivers upfield, and it opens the opportunity for him to run, he absolutely will run and can run. But I would hesitate to call him a mobile quarterback, but he can do it if needed. Spare me here. I'm going to ask you for your keys to victory. I do this every episode, not only with my co-host, but any guest that we have. Please don't say just get off the bus, because I know, again, you're the number 6 team in the nation. You're a really strong, formidable, respected squad. So what would you say, especially after 2 games, breaking in a new quarterback, having played multiple quarterbacks, but I feel like you're settling into one quarterback now.
Yeah.
What would you say are 3 keys to victory that Ohio State must do to secure this victory against Western Kentucky?
Number 1, we have to stay on schedule offensively. We are 118th in the nation right now on 3rd down conversions.
Wow.
I never thought I would say that
in my
life. Yeah. Now, some of that is to do with the fact that they've been doing 2 quarterbacks and trying some things out and being a little bit different, a 3rd and 2, let's try a quarterback keeper. What? That's not typically a Ryan Day thing to call there,
Travion Henderson's right behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, so I can't say that all of it is because we're just bad. Some of it, is just kind of unique. So you got to stay on schedule. Some of it's because of penalties. Where we get a 5-yard gain on 1st down, 2nd down, we get a holding call or a false start. And so you're right back, even beyond, if it's a bad holding call, beyond where you were. And so, staying on schedule is important. 3rd and shorts, and again, getting that 1st down, sustaining drives for this offense. I think they're going to be able to hit the big play. We'll have several of those. But if we're in a close game, you're going to have to get the keys out and drive. And that means you're going to have to be successful on 3rd down. Number 2, can we get pressure on the quarterback with just 4 down linemen like we just talked? If we can't, then you guys will be in this football game. I absolutely believe that. And then number 3, in connection with that, is we have to get off the field on defense. Indiana did a really good job of slowing the game down, playing in a phone booth, keeping the score low. Youngstown State didn't do as good of a job, but they also didn't have as much talent, being a Division I AA school. And so even though we only won by 28, again, they slowed the game down. They got some 3rd down conversions. They may have not scored, but they ran 8 plays and there's 4.5, 5 minutes off the clock. One of those type of deals. So I know you guys probably are not going to play that style of offense with us, which is what we're excited about. But the defense still has to get off the field in order to give the football back to the offense so that we can go out there and score some points. And so 3rd down for both sides of the ball is incredibly important in this football game for me. If you guys are successful on third down, this game is going to be close. If you're not successful on third down, we're going to blow you out.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I love that you touch on the penalties part of it, because we've seen, even from our offensive perspective, that the penalties have hurt us. Even, pre-snap false start type of things. After the play, holding is coming back. You hate to see those momentum breakers when you have a big gain. You bring something back, and you're playing behind the chains. You're playing off schedule. And it would redictate the whole flow of the game and what
Yeah.
you're trying to do and what you're trying to put yourself in position to do.
We've had 3 touchdowns called back because of penalties this year.
Yeah,
2 games.
yeah.
3
I
of them.
say, when I was watching the Youngstown game, I saw some mention of that. It's crazy, and you hate to see that happen. And luckily, you all have a defense that can overcome that. We've not faced opponents that have pushed us that hard to where it's a shootout by any means. But we played USF that was coming off a 1-11 year last year. Granted, they looked improved this year, but we expected to win that game. We pulled away and won that game, and then we faced Houston Christian this last week and won. Kind of going away. I don't want to call it a tune-up game for this game, but we rested a lot of players coming into this game that we want to be healthy for Ohio State to give us our best opportunity to win. Now, I can't let you get out of here without getting a score prediction from you. Now, I'll share mine. I gave mine in our preseason prediction episode. I just want WKU to stay competitive. I'm going to give my score prediction. I just want WKU to keep it close, keep it respectable, come out of this game healthy. I have Ohio State winning 41-20. So, that would be the under on the over under, and that would be not covering the spread. So, what about from your perspective? What do you see this score coming and breaking down to?
I am actually the exact same difference as you are. I'm at 45-24. And that, to me, to be completely honest with you, is a really good outcome for Ohio State, in my opinion. Not that I am terrified about this game, but there's enough glaring weaknesses on this Ohio State football team that tells me a team of the caliber of Western Kentucky can hang with us. We only beat Youngstown State by 28 points. Again, we were trying some different things. Fourth quarter was mostly backups. But my point is that this Ohio State football team, where the expectations are up here, they're performing right here. And so I'm hammering the under this week, and I'm saying 45-24 is a really good win if I'm an Ohio State fan. I could see this thing being closer than that. I really can.
Yeah. It should be fun no matter what.
Right.
It's going to be a fun atmosphere, fun game. I can't. Again, I'm coming up Friday night. I appreciate you kind of giving us that insight to where we need to go and check out in the city, what the team looks like, and just the strengths and weaknesses. Man, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Obviously, we're going to share your episode. We jumped on your episode and gave some insight to WKU. We're going to share that whenever y'all drop that and upload it. So, tell our followers, where can we find you and your podcast to, give that a listen whenever it comes out. And we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get the audio for those who want to listen. You can get the audio on all your major platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Just type in the Ohio Podcast. You'll find us there. We have a website, theohiopodcast.com, if you have trouble finding it. You can also go to Facebook. We have a huge Facebook following, facebook.com/the Ohio Podcast. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter, I guess. You can find us there at the Ohio Pod. The Ohio Pod on there. And then we are part of the Big Banter Sports Network, which covers the Big Ten. Feel free to go check us out there. It's bigbantersports.com. And finally, we're also the official podcast for Scarlet and Game, which is the Ohio State podcast for FanSided. So if you go to scarletandgame.com, I write articles there from a fan's perspective for Ohio State, and you'll see our podcast is highlighted right there on their homepage as well.
Man, we really appreciate that. We look forward to checking out your episode when it comes out. We appreciate you coming on and shining some insight on the Ohio State team as a whole. We look forward to this update or this game coming forward in just a few days. So appreciate you. Have a good night. Go Tops.
Go Bucks.
Later.
Take care.
All right, we're back. Really enjoyed getting to hear that information from Eric. Really glad he joined us and really shared a lot of good info about the team. Who to look for offensively and defensively, and then also just the game day atmosphere. Where to check out tailgating, some local spots, just even spots around campus to check out. Just a really cool, really good and informative point of view. To have and to know before the trip, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be making that trip. The last couple of years we played at Indiana, at Auburn. We're always well represented. We travel well, especially to those type of games. And I know I'm making the trip, and I don't expect this one to be any different. I expect a big, big sea of WKU red to be in the crowd. So now, but we're going to jump into our side of what we expect. So Tyler, 3 keys to victory. Go ahead and rattle. Give me one of those, and we'll go back and forth and see what we got for our keys to victory for WKU to have any chance to pull off this victory, this upset. What do we got to do?
All right. Well, my first one is limit chunk plays. When they played Youngstown State, now I think we're better than Youngstown State, but Marvin Harrison Jr., I think his longest reception of the night was 71 yards. We know that if you watch them throughout the years, you know that they love the big chunk plays, and we really have to keep the ball in front of us and really limit their opportunities.
Yeah, my first one, I like that one. We definitely have to keep the big play in front of us. My first one is we've got to continue what we've been doing with the turnover margin. We have to win it. It can't be a draw. It can't be 1-1, 2-2, whatever. It needs to be a 3-0, a 4-0, a 4-1, something like, this big advantage that we've had so far through 2 games that can cover up some mistakes. We're going to have to be lucky and or forcing turnovers, whether it be fumbles or interceptions, whatever it may be. We need to get the ball back, take it away from them. They can't score if they don't have the ball, and give it to our offense and let them have a chance to go down and score. So I think winning the turnover battle is my first key to victory. What about your second, Tyler?
My second one is going to be keep punter off the field. Sorry, Tom Ellard. I know you want to drop some bombs up in Columbus. I don't want you to. I hope it's a boring night for you on the sidelines or day on the sidelines. I hope we're getting points on every possession. We just got to limit the time you're out there. I know you're out there sometimes. Let's limit them to very few.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Know you're listening. We don't want you on the field. We want you on the sidelines. Enjoy the game. My second key to victory is I just think we have to finish drives. We need to minimize empty possessions. We can't have like you said, we can't have the punt fest out there. We can't roll out Tom Ellard and have 8, 9, 10 punts on the game. We need to finish drives with points. Whether that be 3 or whether that be 7, whatever it is, we need to put points on the board because it's going to take every point possible to win this ball game and pull off this upset. What about your third key, Tyler?
I'm going to say play our brand of ball because, and I've used this earlier in the season versus USF. I think, I don't know if it's just me or not, but I feel like we ain't opened up the playbook really as much. And I understand it because most of our top wide receivers have been injured. But I think with this game, we kind of need to open up the playbook and really, go down the field, aerate it out, try to get behind their corners and safeties, and like you said, shock the world. I mean, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we definitely have to play our brand of ball, and obviously having everybody available and being able to put a full array of the playbook and those playmakers out there, which kind of ties right into what my third key is, and that's it. That is the players got to play. The stars, the big guys, the guys that we lean on, the Malachi's, the Austin Reeds, the Jaquez Evans, the guys that want to put solid game film out there for their future pro aspirations. If they want to go to the NFL or whatever pro league they can make it to. This is the game. On this year's schedule, this is the game. Win, lose, or draw. Obviously we'd all rather win. That's what we want to happen. But to do that, they're all going to have to show up and play their absolute best football game and compete with a really good team and roster full of just 4 and 5 star players up and down that roster. That's what they are. That's not going to change. And if you want to prove you can compete with the best, it's time to do it. Time to nut up or shut up. Time to put it on film. Time to score some points. Man versus man, win your battle, and help us try to pull off this victory. So that's my third key. Tyler, for this upset to happen, who's going to be your MVP? Who's got to shine to get this victory?
Well, I feel like I'm going to steal your thunder on this one. It's got to be Austin Reed. He has to make smart passes. You can't have interceptions. You can't have him, bumbling a snap or anything like that. It's got to be a dang near flawless game, and I'm going with him for my MVP.
Yeah, and I talked about that on the Ohio pod when I was with them. To get this kind of an upset, when you're now 28-point underdogs, I use the analogy you have to pitch a perfect game in a lot of ways. We have got to come out and control what we can control. We have to execute and do everything right. We have to have maybe some lucky bounces that go our way, fumbles, turnovers, spots of the ball, penalties, whatever it may be. We need some things to go in our favor. Call it lady luck, call it preparation, call it whatever. But we have to pitch a perfect game to pull off this level of an upset. Not going to be easy. They're not expecting us to win this game. Most of our fans realistically aren't expecting us to win this game. Vegas doesn't expect us to win this game. But my MVP is also Austin Reed. He's going to have to be, the gunslinger, and he's going to have to take care of the ball. He hasn't thrown an interception yet. He hasn't caused a turnover. He's had a couple risky passes. That's who he is. I've called him a gunslinger since he's been on campus and played for us. We need him to be a gunslinger, but we also need him to be smart with the ball because there's going to be better athletes on the other side of the field than he's probably has faced ever. Going to be a really, really solid defense and one that's going to be looking to exploit and get the ball back and get our offense off the field because they know we can score. Talking to the Ohio State side of this podcast, I mean, they know we can score, and they know teams that get the ball out of their hand quick can, minimize that defensive line, that pass rush, that they want to bring. They want to force the quarterback. They want to cause some turnovers. And we're an offense that is predicated on snapping the ball and getting it out quick to our playmakers. Saw a stat earlier today. We're one of only 7 teams in college football this year that hasn't allowed a sack yet, which is rather impressive. A lot of that's our offense. Some of that is Austin Reed being mobile. He can step up, avoid pressure, roll out, take off running if he needs to. We need to definitely continue that if we can. Obviously that's going to be tough. That's a tough ask for this offensive line. They've got some big boys on their defensive line, some big edge guys, linebackers, even some hybrid, secondary guys are going to be playing down towards the line and probably blitzing. It's going to be a big ask to keep Austin Reed clean, but that's going to have to happen. If we want to pull this game out and get a big victory, we're going to have to keep him clean and allow him to, command and control this offense. He is the straw that stirs the drink, and we've got to let him be clean, make good throws, make good reads, and let the playmakers make plays. That's what has to happen. So I know we've done score predictions, but go ahead, give me what's your score prediction for this Ohio State game?
All right, so we were close on the first week. Me and you were both off on second week. Third week, I got Ohio State 45, WKU 28. I'm torn. I think we could be 45-31, but I am going to stay. Never mind. I will go with it. Ohio State 45, WKU 31. We dropped this game, but that to me that's the only game we dropped.
Yeah, so you're on the over, and they're not covering the spread in yours. We're below the over on mine, and they're not hitting the spread on. Well, they're not hitting the spread on mine. Sorry. Final score for me, I had predicted 41-20. That was my preseason prediction. I'm sticking with it. I've seen a little bit of a sample from them, seen a little bit of a sample from us. Obviously, with some adversity, not having a full array of wide receivers, and our full offensive firepower that we can and could be. Obviously, I would love to be wrong. I'd love to come back, next week, next Monday, Tuesday, and be talking about, hey, we talked about a loss by 20, pulled out a victory, big shock the world, shock number 6 Ohio State in their house. I will gladly, I will eat all that crow. I'll put the big plate, I'll warm it up, I'll eat it cold. I don't care. If I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong. But the realistic side of this is it's going to be a tough task, and it's going to take a lot of perfection and execution, some lady luck, wear your lucky socks and underwear, do all your pregame rituals, everything you can do to, lean that luck and that favor on our side. Let's do it, because it's going to take, just everything going right, in my opinion, and our players, every player making plays at the best of their ability to pull off this upset and this victory. But I think it's going to be a great game, a fun game. Again, I'm making the trip Friday after I get off work, making the drive up there, staying Friday night and Saturday night, come back Sunday morning. So really looking forward to checking out the Columbus area. I've never been up to Ohio State. I've got a couple friends that are going that are very familiar with Ohio State, and looking forward to a good time, especially, Eric from the Ohio pod that made some recommendations on, some food places to check out, some some tailgating things to check out, some pregame just festivities that they have. He mentioned a pregame pep rally that sounded really cool in their old basketball arena. So definitely got some things, some notes that I've made from his comments that I'm going to definitely check out. So really excited for this game. It should be fun. I can't wait to be in a stadium that holds, I think it was 103,000 when I looked at their capacity. I know it's going to be near or pushing a sellout. I haven't looked at what the weather is going to be, but I hope it's going to be nice. A 3 p.m. kickoff. We're on Fox. We're on national television. It doesn't get much bigger or better than what we have in front of us. At this point, it's up to us. The teams, the coaches, the players, everybody just has to prepare and do their job. And it's, best man's going to win, plain and simple. It's going to be a tough task. We know that. I know that. You know that. But let's get it done. Tyler, go ahead and give us your final thoughts, and then take us the heck out of here.
It does pain me to give you that score prediction, because I always think Western's going to win. And like you said, I would gladly eat all the crow that, or I hope I'm wrong, eat all the crow that they want to put in front of me, and I'll gladly eat it. But no one thought David could slew Goliath, and he did in the Bible. No one thought the little giants or the mighty ducks could win their game from, and I'm dating myself, but I remember watching them movies growing up. No one thinks they could win. I believe that we can win, and I want us to win. And it is going to be a challenge, because they are a a powerhouse up there. That's really all they got up in Ohio is college football, and it'd be nice for us to come back with a dub. But no, everybody, this last game, going back to Houston Christian, the environment was awesome. Please come back, keep supporting this team, support all the sports on Western's campus. Every team needs your help. Every team would appreciate you being there to cheer for them. That's why they suit up and play for the university like they do. I guess because it is now the 12th of September, but I would like to say it's been 22 years since the attack on September 11th, and I don't know. I was really thinking about that, yesterday, And it's just crazy. People say, I remember where, the older generations. I remember I was when Elvis died. I remember where I was when Kennedy passed away or died. I remember where I was, just going back to the greatest generation, when Pearl Harbor, whenever I remember hearing when Pearl Harbor was attacked. It's just crazy to think about. I can still remember I was in my 5th grade math class in Park City Elementary whenever I heard about the attacks on September 11th. And I remember seeing that on TV. And we should all be thankful that we are Americans and that we can overcome that terrible attack. And I guess with that, I'm going to say, Moth, who has it better than us?
Nobody, buddy.
Nobody.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.
Later, guys.
See ya.